Hey guys, so before you get into the video, I wanted to give an extra special thank you to all of my patrons for your continued support over on patreon.com/murderofbirds. And an extra special thank you goes to those of you in the Silver-Eyed Warriors as well as the Wizard of Remnant tier for your generosity, kindness, and support. And that goes to Brandon CAPPELLI, Daniel Burns, ERZA Lee, GOTEKAI, Ian Dodd, Jamie Coleman, Matthew TRAPP, Michael, and Winter SCHNEE. Again, thank you guys so much for the support. I really hope you guys enjoy the video, and thanks a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, after this video, we are continuing with Red vs. Blue content with the Chorus Trilogy of Seasons 11, 12, and 13. I know this has been a long time coming for a lot of you guys, and I'm really happy to just overall be back. I uploaded my reaction last week to the Season 10 soundtrack, which I really hope you guys enjoyed that. And I'm just really excited to just give my final thoughts of the Project Freelancer storyline, the memories, the key storyline, and everything else that Season 10 and kind of Season 9, I'm going to be talking here and there about Seasons 9 and 10 interchangeably because Season 9 like really exceeded my expectations with how they told the story of Project Freelancer, but then it faltered with the memory unit stuff that I guess only really mattered for Epsilon's personal journey of letting go of like Allison and stuff like that. But Season 10 was phenomenal in how it delivered present day events with relevant past events that brought everything to a head at the very end, especially with how they set up with the Chorus Trilogy. Similarly to previous seasons, we have finished all of the reactions for Season 10. We've listened to the soundtrack for Season 10. I have my memento here, my Red vs. Blue notebook that has carried me 3-subject notebook, by the way, basically a subject for every season of Seasons 8, 9, and 10, doing homework with this series where my reactions and my discussions are like 2, 3, like feature length long, week to week, which was pretty insane for me to do, to be quite honest. And, you know, you guys who have been along with me this entire time know that better than anyone, that my schedule was all over the place. And, you know, I had to maintain this on a weekly basis to where I kind of fell off a little bit. And after I finished Season 10, like, that's why I went on that hiatus, because, you know, I was like, thank God Ruby's out. I can put RVB down. And then even after that, you know, COVID kind of took over and everything else in between. But I'm just really happy to be back. I have the time. I had the time off that I needed with the show to know that I want to pick up where I left off and just see where things go, because there's so many unanswered questions. The Project Freelancer storyline is without a doubt one of the most impactful, emotional, and tragic stories that I've ever seen in fiction. I honestly think, so first off, this is the review, so I'm obviously going to talk about a bunch of different things. I am going to have my thoughts, you know, centralized with the notes that I've taken here. I am going to talk a little bit about, you know, obviously the Seasons 9 and 10 as a whole. I do want to give a bit of time to focus on the last 3 episodes, because in my reaction, it was so overly emotional, because it was everything that had built up and swelled up in me over the last 10 seasons that really delivered an emotion that I think I've rarely ever reached with a lot of media. The only other time I can think that I cried that much or that hard was when I finished Persona 5 Royal, which happened this year, actually. I think the next step from that would be something regarding Ruby, like the Volume 3 finale, or, you know, any episodes that featured Pyrrha. But yeah, like, I am so emotionally invested in this show and these characters, and to know that when I started this show back in 2016, you know, and I was taking my time with the Blood Gulch Chronicles, and then, you know, the Recollection Trilogy, and now, you know, and then now finishing up the Project Freelancer saga, it's pretty incredible to know that I really, really think that some of the best stories that I've ever watched are stories where the main characters are not, like, the story isn't about the people who you see in every episode. Like, Seasons 1 through 10 is about the director, and it's about Allison. And those are the 2 characters that you probably see the least of until this season. And I think those kind of stories are incredible, because it kind of weaves this universe of, you know, variables and, you know, circumstances and situations and events that all happen coincidentally. You know what I mean? There's so many unfortunate circumstances with the freelancers, especially, that led to their demise, when they could have, in a different universe, they could have had you know, their cake and eating it too. They could have been happy for those who did survive the project, but ultimately met their demise before where we are now, with it just being Carolina and Washington. So first and foremost, I want to say is that Bernie is an incredible story writer. I cannot even imagine how this story, like, developed in this man's mind, with the buddies that he had by his side, with continuing to do machinimation, to where Monty came on board and provided like really high quality animations with, you know, his Monty flair, and everything else in between. You know what I mean? Like getting other people in the company on board with voice acting, pushing the games and pushing the boundaries with the different games that came out: Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo Reach. Now they're going into Halo 4 with the Chorus Trilogy. So I'm really excited to see the graphical leaps, the graphical fidelity, what they can do and what they can add from, you know, everything that they've been doing all of these years. And I don't know, I just think everything was really well done. Like the scaling of the show from where it started with season 1 to all the way in season 10 has been phenomenal. They've been kind of doing more machinimation instead of just simple machinima, where you're actually using the game engine and using like Foundry and shit like that to do the bobbing and weaving of the heads. So everything in terms of production is at an all-time high with season 10. I would say it's one of Rooster Teeth's best 3D animated shows, because I've seen RWBY, I've seen Genlock, and I think season 9 and especially season 10 holds up even to this day, when this show, like this season came out like what, 7-8 years ago, and it really holds up a lot in terms of its production value, in terms of its story writing. Bernie is fucking amazing, man. And I know that, you know, obviously I'm up to date with current events of Rooster Teeth, and I know he's no longer at the company. Obviously, he made a very impactful decision for himself, his family, his future, you know, his future endeavors, and, you know, his opportunities that see him overseas with his family as well. And I just wish him nothing but the best. But that man, like, literally changed my life with this show, and I'm really happy that things in my life allowed me to come into the mix, to be introduced to something like RWBY, which then introduced me to Rooster Teeth, which then introduced me to like the podcast and Barbara and Miles and Monty and Carrie, and then that in turn influenced me to go back and start for Red versus Blue, and like obviously check out their future titles like Genlock, and here I am now. You know what I mean? I know why I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, it's that infamous question, why are we here? And I'm here for so many different reasons and so many different people, especially people like you guys who have been continuing to watch my content and, you know, enjoy what I've been doing on my channel for however long it is that you guys discovered me, whether it's RWBY, Red versus Blue, anime content, gaming content. You know, I'm sorry that I'm rambling. This is the review. This is what it's going to be like. I don't know. It's so serendipitous. Like, even the story of Red versus Blue is so serendipitous, right? You have these Reds and Blues, these fucking sim troopers who have no real understanding of the war and, you know, life outside of their box canyon. Meanwhile, you have like this bigger than life project, this great war, this fight for humanity that all of these soldiers and freelancers and agencies are getting involved in. And it just like takes off, like you're witnessing it take off before your very eyes, and then the Reds and Blues just get dragged into it, and they evolve and they improve, and they're so much bigger than who they were at the very beginning, as like these freaking snarky ass characters that are cracking wise jokes from each other, trying to steal each other's flag. But, I mean, I think the potential of this show has been incredible. A lot of people have told me, especially that season 11, 12, like the Chorus Trilogy, some people say it's arguably even better, like what Miles Luna adds to it. Like, he just, like, adds an additional layer onto what on top of what, you know, Bernie delivered, and what Bernie kind of left to the series after he passed the torch over to Miles. And, like, that's incredible as well, because I can't imagine the amount of pressure that was on Miles's hands when he realized, hey, season 10's done, I'm writing the next season. So I'm interested to also see his writing directions for the show, what he decides to add, what he decides to reinforce. I'm pretty sure Bernie was still like overseeing his decisions and stuff like that. So yeah, those are my initial feelings for seasons 9 and 10 as just as a piece in of itself. There's just so many things that I can really talk about and get into with you know, with season 10 as well. I think most of the emotional side of how I feel about this season could be encapsulated in my last reaction. So I am mostly going to focus on the last 3 episodes, the last 3 sequences, because I have like 10, I honestly feel like I have like 10 hours worth of content of just digesting all of my thoughts and everything, and I don't want it to be a regurgitated situation for the review, similarly to what you guys have probably gone through watching those reactions and listening to the discussions for those of you who have. But yeah, season 10 was just a phenomenal body of work that is the closing of 10 seasons, 10 years of storytelling, 10 years of machinimation, 10 years of improvements, 10 years of this company growing to what it is now. You know, to a company that I hold very near and dear to my heart, friends that I've made in the community as well, and I still have a long way to go. You know, I eventually plan on being caught up like everybody else, and then that's where it's really gonna hurt when I'm caught up. I know, like, RVB 0 is premiering this fall, if I'm not mistaken, so, you know, obviously the rest of y'all are gonna be able to see whatever the hell it is that they have in store for y'all, but the Chorus Trilogy is something that I'm really looking forward to. I'm falling way behind on all of the other reactors who have been checking out RVB, but yeah, season 10 is unlike anything that I've ever watched. I put so much of my heart and soul into that final reaction batch. Like a part of me was left behind after watching that, because it was just so beautifully tragic, and it was just so beautifully written. From every scene, from the action to where the music kicks in, to where you have that moment with the director, with Epsilon, with Carolina, the reveal, the aftermath, the even bigger reveals towards the end, like everything. And then obviously the tease and the setup for the Chorus Trilogy. It's beautiful. It's one of my all-time favorite works. I really just wish that RVB was the same back then that it is now. I wish it was the same prestige. I wish it was still the same in terms of relevance with the community. Obviously, Red versus Blue now is defined by the old school longtime fans. I don't really think there's many new fans getting into it, and I think that's what RVB 0 is going to introduce, trying to get new people involved while still garnering and understanding, hey, we're going to do something new with the series. I don't really know the extent of it. I don't have any spoilers. I just know that Fiona Nova is voicing one of the main characters, and she said you don't need to watch the other 17 seasons to understand or to get into this one. So it's obviously going to try to get a subset of the Rooster Teeth community, whether it's Ruby fans, Genlock fans, Achievement Hunter, people who just can't devote themselves to 17 seasons, to checking this out. And I just hope, in my mind and in my heart, because I've seen the last 10 seasons, and because it's so fucking good, and it's so near and dear to my heart, and it's something that I'm still excited to catch up with season 11. You know, the Chorus Trilogy, I think the Shizno Paradox is the next trilogy after that. You know, for where I'm gonna be caught up, I just hope that anyone who ends up getting into RVB 0 and likes it, I even if it's like 1% of the total population of people who watch it who are brand new, I just hope they decide to go back and see where it started, and then they see the mini-series, and then they see, like, the Season 6 reveal of the Alpha, and then they fucking get the Monty reveal, the Warthog through the wall, and then they see everything. I just want them to see everything. The freelancers, Tex, the director, Carolina, the fucking meta, the AI, the awesome fights, Monty's introduction, the reveals, the fucking emotions, everything that makes this show worth the investment. And it's just so hard. It's so fucking hard of a sell. I wish it was easier to sell people on RVB. I wish it was easier to sell people on a 17 series investment, because it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And I wish I could tell more people that. I wish more people would give it a shot. I wish more Ruby fans would watch it. But it's just so hard. You know, it's so hard in this day and age with media and everything, you know, going fast. You know, everyone lives so fast, and there's only so much time in a day. But I feel like people would love these characters just as much as any other, if not even more. You know what I mean? I'm still conflicted as to how I really feel about RVB compared to Ruby, because they're two parts of my life that happen at two critical moments, and each one of them resonates with me on a deep emotional level, and I still have a lot more to go for both shows. But with all of that said, I think this is kind of like a long-winded intro. I love the show. I'm going to be continuing it alongside all of y'all for until I catch up, and then hopefully we can be on the same page once we reach that point. But yeah, I loved the season 10. I loved everything that this show has delivered and brought to the table in terms of being a really emotional, tragic, and beautifully written piece by Bernie, and I can't wait to see what Miles does. So thankfully, moving on, I have my notes, so I'm not rambling like an idiot for 10 minutes. But yeah, we're going to be getting into my overall thoughts of the Season 10 review. This is mostly, at this point, going to encompass the batch of episodes that I watched for my final reaction, so episodes 20, 21, 22, titled Reckless, True Colors, and Don't Say It. So I'm going to be going in order, similarly to what I've done before. And this one might actually be speedy, just because I kind of feel like at this point, you know what I mean? Like at this point, I feel like most of my thoughts are already in the reaction, and I don't want to be too regurgitative. But I do have notes here to kind of keep me from rambling and going off the deep end. And these videos are typically an hour or so. I did also write 5 pages of notes, with the last page kind of being my thoughts on what to expect, my speculations, my theories, things that I'm hoping that we get to see for Chorus Trilogy, especially questions that weren't answered during the Project Freelancer storyline. So we're going to start off with episode 20. And so episode 20 starts off with Carolina and Epsilon tracking the director's locations, and they come back to that old research base that we actually got a first glimpse of, if I'm not mistaken, back during season 8 when Epsilon first created, so to speak, Epsilon Techs.
Ow! 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 What? Stop it! Tex, you are embarrassing me! Ow! Stop! Ow! Hey, are you gonna get out? Are you gonna help me or not?
We also got a quick brief moment of Phyllis, but she seemed to have been reprogrammed to where she wasn't allowing like anybody in, like even people who had the credentials. The director obviously like changed the password or whatever. But it's interesting too, because I don't know if she ever realized it, but she essentially doxed the director by essentially telling Carolina and Epsilon, "Oh, director, I didn't know you left. I'm picking up you in front of me, but I'm also picking you up in the base," because they didn't know for certain if the director was there. So Phyllis low-key like doxed the director, and I don't know if that's like, unfortunately, you know, Phyllis is no more. I like, the one thing that I wish is that the director, I understand why he did it. You know, he probably doesn't want anyone recreating or utilizing his technology that he was using with ulterior motives to bring his wife back from malicious intent, or just basically he doesn't want to incriminate himself or incriminate the things that he did even more, even though he killed himself. I just wish he left some things behind, because I know that there are probably still remnants of Project Freelancer based on how Carolina and Epsilon left things off at the very end before the credits started rolling. But I don't know, man. I really wish Phyllis stayed around, you know, Sheila. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's sad. It's really unfortunate, because I really liked Phyllis. Like, you know, first off, just like the Blood Gulch Chronicles days of Sheila, of Caboose falling in love with her, for her becoming the airship crashing. There was just so much history with that AI. And, you know, like her and Lopez teaming up and being like, you know, like, machines have been oppressed for too long. Like, Phyllis was such a dope-ass character. And then when it came to, like, the Project Freelancer side of things, it was even cooler, because it was like, wow, this is actually who she is. But yeah, I miss Phyllis. I don't know if that's weird to say, but, like, she was just really cool, and, you know, a really calm and soothing voice to have whenever shit was going crazy. Phyllis was always the one that was kind of like, all right, let's assess the situation, let's make sure everything's okay. So I really did miss her. So while them two are tracking down the director, meanwhile, blue team wins straight up. Like, no ifs, no ands, no buts. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. Like, it's better dead than red. That's what I have to say. I'm a blue. I love the blue team. I love Church. I've loved him ever since season 1. And blue team, then again, they did have Washington, and he's technically a freelancer, but the Blues essentially just like wiped clean the Reds of everything that they own, including their flag. They got their flag, the Ghost, they got Simmons rockets, they got Sarge's shotgun. They got their Puma. They took the fucking peanut bread that Donut made for them, which was really upsetting. And then the terms of surrender were also funny too, because that was a callback to a previous season where Simmons and Griff was like, I just want to tell everyone that I suck and that I want to kiss all the boys. Like, that was just such a cool reference, I think, to the Blood Gulch Chronicles days on top of that.
I would just like to let everyone know that I suck.
You know, it was funny the first few times, but this is starting to get depressing.
Yeah. I want to kiss all the boys.
I would just like to let everyone know that I suck. And that I'm a girl. What else? And I like ribbons in my hair. And I want to kiss all the boys.
Okay. My printer decided to just turn on and start spitting out paper for no goddamn reason, so I had to unplug it. Sorry about that. All right, so where was I? So the terms of surrender. So another cool thing that I like, and they emphasize this as well in the second episode of the batch that I watched. When it comes to fighting on the battlefield, everyone eventually gets their own signature weapon, right? So in season 1, Church always had the sniper, and Sarge always had the shotgun. Like, those two were established as of season 1. I think Tucker got the sword in seasons 3, or I want to say season 3, but seasons 3 or 4 he got the sword. Simmons got the rocket launcher in season 8. I think the fight with Tex versus the Reds and the Blues in season 8 was where he established, like, okay, I'm getting this for myself. And then even for, like, the freelancers, I think Washington has always had the battle rifle. Carolina was mostly like the pistol / grapple gun / plasma rifles, you know, during the past of the Project Freelancer saga. But it's so fucking cool that they ended up giving Griff the meta's weapon, the brute shot, which he basically calls it the Griff shot, and he was like, I was gonna eat off of it. He's like, well, let me guess, you gonna eat off it? He's like, no, I was gonna mount it up on the wall. A donut was gonna help me, and you know I can't resist a good mounting. So, like, first off, I fucking love that I can already start quoting some of the scenes, like, off the top of my head now, because they're so fucking iconic, and they're really entertaining and funny.
What would you call that? I don't know, but we'll take it. No, there is no way I'm giving up the Griff shot. Oh, please, what were you gonna do? Eat off it? Actually, dickhead, I asked Donut to mount it for me in the base. And you know I can't resist a good mounting.
So yeah, so he has the Griff shot now, which is really cool. And I think that's also interesting considering how Griff was the character that almost died from the meta dying in season 8, actually. Yeah, so like when the meta was falling off the cliff, he like dragged Griff with him, and Griff almost died because of the meta, so he ends up getting his weapon as a trophy for the fact that, oh, I didn't actually get killed by him, which was cool.
Hey, Griff! I've lost my shotgun! What am I gonna do without my shotgun? Shotgun, damn it!
Shotgun? Come on, Simmons.
Hey, Meta! Settle a bet, would you? Does that thing kind of look like a big cat to you?
Whoa! Grab! Simmons, grab my hand! Help!
I love the fact that Doc is always like the mediator, like he's the pacifist of the two. You know, purple is the combination of red and blue. So when the reds and blues don't agree on something, he's always there to set shit straight. And I love the fact that he kind of like he just went on like he just had like a memoir of all the red and blue times, and he's always been there for them, even though he's there just to treat patients and then move back on to command. And he just basically goes down memory lane of like, dude, you guys have come such a long way from being these random ass soldiers just standing around and talking all day. And that's the entire joke of season 1 that Church was talking about. He's like, you know, all we do is sit around and talk. So in 5 minutes, when you ask me, what are they talking? What are they doing? I'm still going to say they're still talking and they're still just standing there. You know, they've come such a long way from being in Blood Gulch to ending up at Sidewinder to then discovering someone like Andy and O'Malley and dealing with them to, you know, Outpost 17B to stopping the director to then getting wrapped up in the meta and these AI and Carolina and going after Epsilon and finding and tracking him down, to where they're now helping Carolina and Epsilon finish what they started with the director. Like these guys leveled the fuck up, and they're getting like new gear. They're becoming more like the reds and blues don't exist. It's literally what Tucker said all those seasons ago. I think that was season like 3 or 4 as well, or season 3 or 4, when he came to that realization. He's like, reds and blues are the same. Like, why are we even fighting each other? But even now, they still have opposite bases on opposite sides of the map, and they're still trying to get each other's flags. But they have a newfound respect for each other, which I don't think they could have ever said that they had during the Blood Gulch Chronicles days. Obviously, they would compromise here and there because they were like, oh, if we don't help them out, then we lose our teammate, then we lose our base, then we lose our flag. You know, it was always like a war of attrition between the two. They were always like, well, we have a tank. Well, we have a Puma. Well, we have a Freelancer. Well, we have a sword. You know what I mean? Like, there was always something that kind of kept things even with them, but now they're all on the same side. And I think Sarge gave one of the best the best motivational speech of the series. I think he gave one in season 8, before they ended up getting on the Pelican and flying into to help Texas deal with the meta and deal with Washington and stuff like that. And I think that one too, he was like, that speech was kind of like, why are you still here? You know what I mean? Like, Griff of all people, you're lazy as hell, and you could have just went home or gone and done something else, but you're still here and you're still willing to help out. And this was a great motivational speech as well, because he's like, yo, fuck the bullshit. Like, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do things the way that we want. We've never been about like listening or following orders from other people. So do you want to just stand around and bitch and moan, Washington, or do you want to get a little reckless? So I love that Doc and Sarge kind of came together and delivered that to help the Reds and Blues. Like, it just felt so fucking good to just realize, like, shit happens. You know what I mean? Like, you have fights, you say things you don't mean, you're caught up in the heat of the moment. In Carolina and Epsilon's case, it's far more deep-seated, it's far more personal than any of them could realize, and I don't expect any of them to have been able to understand what was being done or what was being said or what was being felt by them at that time. But the fact that they still were just like, yo, Church is our boy. If we ever had to back off because of Church, this war would have ended a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like, Church has been bitching since day one, but you know, that's never stopped them. And I just loved how Washington was still apprehensive. You know what I mean? Because he's found a new life. He wants to just. I feel like Washington reacted that way because he didn't want the worst to happen again. You know what I mean? Like, the last time something like this happened, where he considers these people his friends. Right, he's like, they're my friends. I put them through so much shit already. Let's be done with whatever the director is, whatever Carolina and Epsilon and Freelancer bullshit. Let's put that all behind us. I feel like a part of him didn't want them to get wrapped up in it again, and something worse happens, like Caboose gets killed, or, you know, Griff gets severely hurt, or Donut gets severely hurt, even though Washington also shot him in the past. So it was just a very awesome moment of, like, understand. This is almost like a coming of age tale for these characters, because they've grown so much with each other, with themselves, with the situations that have happened. And I don't know, it's just really wholesome to kind of look at and just be like, fuck, I've been here for the, I don't know, I feel like I've grown with them as well. You know, I started this show like 4 years ago at this point, and like even now, it's just incredible to just see the evolution and the growth of the characters. And again, that's heavily based on Bernie's writing skills, because the characters feel exactly the same. Like, none of them feel out of character. None of them are doing shit that they shouldn't be doing, or that you're questioning. Griff wouldn't do that. Simmons wouldn't say that. Sarge wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like, so they're incredibly consistent and tight-knit characters for, like, their personalities, their lines, you know, especially in their fighting styles and all that stuff. But it's just cool to just see that for as long as the show's been going on, all of that is still retained, but they're still able to evolve and grow as characters. So it just feels very realistic, I guess, is the way that I should put it. The last thing of this area, or the last moment that I really admired, was the final shot that they showed of Valhalla. I don't know if we'll ever come back to Valhalla unless The only way I'm going to assume that we come back to this place is if Valhalla is remastered as a map in one of the other Halo games, right? Because I think that farewell shot is what I'm calling it, was very reminiscent of the farewell shot that was used for Blood Gulch Chronicles for Season 5. Like, when they all took off and disappeared, Sheila was, like, the only one that was there, and it just did, like, a pan of, you know, the red base, the blue base, the empty valley, the empty canyon, and then it's like we never went back there. Like, we moved on, we never looked back. So I think Valhalla is going to be very similar of, like, we you know what I mean? Like, this was our home for a while. We went on this crazy journey that took us to so many different places. We came back, but now we have to leave for good for a new journey. And for this new area that they are now with the Chorus Trilogy, who knows if that's even going to be their permanent home? Because whatever journeys they're going to be going on with the Chorus Trilogy, chances are they're going to do a final pan shot of that area, and then they're going to move on to something else. You know, so it's like, I don't even know when the story is going to end for the Reds and Blues, because it seems like they're getting dragged into everybody else's conflict, and they're just kind of moving from point A to point B to Outpost 17B and all that other stuff. So I really like the farewell shot. It's very bittersweet because, again, there's Outpost 17B, man. Like, that, just saying that it's just saying that has so much power, so much weight behind it for how it's set up with you know, with Season 7. I don't know, man. It's not even Season 7, sorry, Season 6, like the trailer, technically Episode 0 of the Meta and Omega and the plane crash, you know, and the Pelican crashing. And there's so much, man, that is really reminiscent of fonder times and humble beginnings kind of taking center stage and evolving with this show. You know, Season 6 to Season 10 is magnificent, and I don't know, I'm kind of just getting caught up in my emotions here, but I'm going to miss Valhalla the same way I'm going to miss Blood Gulch, and I don't know what this new base or this new place is called for them just yet, but I'm pretty sure we'll make great memories here as well. Memory is the key, after all. So after the speech with the Reds and Blues, it cuts back to Carolina and Epsilon. They've made their way inside the military base, and I called this the calm before the storm. And I didn't realize it until I rewatched the episode before sitting down to record this, but Epsilon is like, oh, wait a minute, I'm having a little bit of deja vu. And he says that, I don't know if he says that because of, like, what's going on like the memory, like on the speaker or whatever. You can hear the director saying, play it again, Phyllis. Director, it's been several days, play it again. So I don't know if that's what he's talking about, or if he's talking about the fact that the last time he was here, he got his ass beat by Texas, you know, Epsilon Tex. That he ended up, like, creating, you know, getting her out of his head, and then she just beat the shit out of everybody there. So I wonder if he felt that sense of deja vu, because it's like, well, Carolina is about to be in a 100 times worse situation than you were in. So I feel like that was a little bit of clairvoyance to be like, oh, I don't feel really good. I don't feel good. I feel like something bad's about to happen. I feel like I've been in this situation before, you know, so it was like a callback to Season 8, which was great. And then, yeah, the failures of Texas. So I will talk about this when we get to the reunion section between Alpha and the Beta. But it's very interesting because I'm pretty sure I talked about this specific thing happening, like Texas becoming multiple versions of herself. But we'll get into that, like I said. So Carolina in church versus 100 Texas, and then the callback moment that I think happened in Blood Gulch Chronicles, but was said again here, was pretty awesome.
You have no idea what kind of trouble you are in.
Go. Where'd he go? Is he gone? Tex?
Church, run!
Tex, don't!
You have no idea what kind of trouble you are in.
So the next episode is True Colors, and the first 5 minutes is just non-stop, badass Monty Flair action, and I think I have no fucking clue, like, what Monty's best work in this show is. I don't know if he still did animations for the Chorus Trilogy up into his passing, because obviously after season 10 of RVB, clearly RWBY took center stage as Rooster Teeth's soon-to-be new flagship series. So I don't really know how involved Monty was in terms of animation when it came to Red vs. Blue for seasons 11 and 12, but I still can't pinpoint, because, like, I honestly think there are scenes, like, oh my god, man, fucking Texas versus Washington and the meta is so fucking good. I go back and just watch that scene and I'm just in awe of, like, how tight, how, like, snappy, just how good and how fluid the animation is with those sequences. Texas and Carolina versus Pillman and CT, like, along with the fucking music of that scene, is just a masterpiece in of itself. And then we have Carolina versus the 100 Texas, or Texai, or whatever. I don't know what the plural of Texas is, but 100 Texas. And she is in her zone to a certain degree, up until a certain point. Carolina, without a doubt, is the best. It's like what Church said. It's like, if Tex was the best, she would be standing here, not you. But yeah, like, obviously she doesn't know it, but she's the spitting image of Texas. If anything, the child is the one that's supposed to surpass the parent. You know, you would want to, as a parent, you want your kid to be better than you. You want your kid to have a better life than you and be able to have the opportunities that you weren't able to, and even surpass you. And I think that is Carolina in a nutshell. So I think she was at her best. Choreography was at its best. They, like, the entire sequence. So she starts out with the dual plasma rifles, because clearly that's her favorite weapon ever since the Project Freelancer saga. So she starts out with those, and then she goes to, like, shotgun into, like, hand to hand, and, like, she's doing, like, a lot of kicking and stuff like that while using, like, the momentum and the blowback of the shotgun. And there's this one scene I fucking love whenever they do, like, long-winded animations where the camera is just twisting and snapping and turning. It's not on the level of Spiral. It's not on the level of, like, the Fragments fight that she had with, like, the Project Freelancer soldiers, you know, with Texas in the final assault of Project Freelancer. But, like, the camera is just so satisfying to just capture all of the different angles and points and turns, and it snaps, and it's like following her the entire time she's fighting and twisting and jumping and shooting. It's so satisfying to see. That is clearly, like, my bread and butter for, like, Monty's style of animation, and the way that you could just tell a scene was done by Monty because of that. And I wish they did more of that. Like I said, I hate to compare and contrast, because I feel like it takes away from the work and the people that are working and doing things now. And obviously the way that things are different then, and Monty's different from everyone else, and everyone else is different from him. And I just hate playing that comparison game, but I can't deny my vices. I can't deny the things that I undoubtedly love. And that's one of the things that I wish we get to see more. Those are just the things I wish we saw more in RWBY, where, like, when a fight sequence happens, and I think they actually did that a few times in Volume 7 that I really appreciated. Like, the camera was the absolute MVP of Volume 7 without a doubt. And I really hope they continue to do that, because I really think that those make for more cinematic approaches, more impressive approaches, instead of cutting, having one animator do these 2 cuts, having another animator do these 4 cuts, having a third animator do these 6 cuts, and when you put it all together, it looks all disoriented because 3 different people are doing it from their perspectives, and it just kind of, it's choppy the entire time. So I love animation that has long-winded camera movements. Long shots as well is really appealing to me. And yeah, ultimately it's just the overall Monty flair and Monty style to how he did animation and choreography that shines in this final sequence. And this is the final thing. Like I said, I don't know about seasons 11 and 12 if he did any, like, animation for that, because RWBY was out by then. But that is undoubtedly, like, the one thing that I love the most about Monty's choreography and animation style is his usage of the camera doing most of the work for him, I think. So Carolina's just fucking beating ass, taking names, just destroying different versions, different iterations of her mom that she doesn't know at the time. And she does this one fucking sequence that I jumped out of my chair. I watched it like long after I did my reaction because I made the connection. She kicks a grenade off the floor and she kicks it into the head of one of the Texas. And I was like, you're literally your mother's daughter, because Carolina kicked the grenade. But in the Project Freelancer assault, Texas punches a grenade back to one of the like the guy that's in the tank. He like grabs the grenade and he throws it at Texas, and Texas punches it back to him, and then it blows him up. And I'm like, oh my God, you're literally your daughter. You're literally your mother's daughter. It was just so cool, and it was like another parallel. And I was like, oh my God, there were just so many subliminal messages, not subliminal, but there were so many context clues. So many behavioral, I don't know the word for it. It's just like, you know, like how a child will mimic their parent, right? Like if a parent is loud and yells and is angry all the time, their kid will ultimately develop those behaviors through osmosis and through, you know, obviously being exposed to that. I honestly think they did so much of that shit in season 10, and rewatching it so many times since I finished it made it clear as day that they hinted so many times of the and I remember mentioning it in my reviews. I was like, there's like something I'm missing. Like, why are these characters so intertwined with each other? Why is Carolina saying the same thing the director's saying? Why is Carolina in Texas so like up there for the director's approval, and it's right in front of your face, and I didn't realize it until it mattered most when you see the eyes. Again, that's a fucking craft of Bernie right there. That's a craft of the team at the time, and it's just incredible storytelling. And I love the fact that I'm so spot on with my notes, and I'm taking all these notes and I'm paying attention, and the most important things are the ones that go over my head. But I think it makes it that much more fulfilling when I get that reveal, so I don't feel like I cheated myself out of knowing something before it happened. So that was another big moment for me. I was like, oh my God, she kicks the grenade just like her mom punches it. And that's, I think I interpret that as like a reference that's a way that they're similar. She uses the grapple grenade combo, which is super cool. That kind of reminds me a little bit of Blake's weapon in Ruby. Like, she has like the gun at the end, and then the gun, the ribbon, and the yeah, so like the gun, the ribbon, and the sword. So when she shoots the gun, it like ricochets, and it kind of reminded me of the way that she was using the grapple gun with the grenade at the end. So I thought that was really cool as well. And then, yeah, she kind of just basically realizes, holy shit, like she's kind of losing herself. She's like fighting and doing all this other crazy shit, and Epsilon's trying to calm her down, and she's like, nah, bitch, I got this. And she gets wrecked. And she starts doubting herself, and I'm just like, you're the best. You're absolutely the best. As long as you try not to just do everything by yourself. If you need help, you got friends that can help. You got Washington, you got the Reds, you got the Blues, you got Alpha. Or Church, Epsilon. You know what I mean? Like, you could do anything you put your mind to, especially if you take advice from York and you let go. And I love the fact that she ended up doing that towards the end. She got a new shot at life. She has a path of redemption that she wants to go on with Epsilon, which is great, and everything else. And then the Reds and Blues show up and help out, and it's absolute Red versus Blue fan service for fans. Like, it's moments like that, right? 9 points, you dirty whore. Like, like, that's so fucking awesome, man. It's so cool to just get. It's such a beautiful reunion. It's so satisfying to just be a long-time invested fan, and then they just give you shit like that. They're like, this is for the fans. 9 points, you dirty whore. And then, like, roses are red and violets are blue. Like, the fucking callback music season 1's opening, you know, Trocadero all the way back to fucking Blood Gulch Chronicles days. And I think they did that really well. They were like, okay, this is it. This is the season that's going to bring all those emotions back. It's going to remind everyone why we're here. It's going to remind everyone of this crazy journey that we've been on. And I don't know, man. It was so fantastic. And then everyone was in that CG animation. I think some of the characters were in that for the first time as well. And it was just so cool to just see everyone fighting and being on the same side, and everyone has their signature weapons, and you know, you got your boy on your left, your boy on your right, and you're just fucking shit up. You're destroying all these Texas, and it was just such a cool experience. It was just so cool to see and just be like, wow. Just stand there in awe and just be like, wow. Reds and blues are the same, freelancers and an AI, like, just kicking ass and, you know, just being awesome together. And then, like, the Michael J. Caboose thing, too, like, I am Michael J. Caboose, and I hate taxes, which I guess is more understandable than hating babies, but he meant Texas, so that was kind of a funny thing, too. He was off by a letter there.
My name is Michael J. Caboose, and hey, taxes.
It's Texas, you idiot!
That too. My name is Michael J. Caboose, and I hate babies.
It's the beast! The anti-flag! Come to live among us and rule us for 7 years! The end is nigh! Yours!
I absolutely loved it. It was fan service out the ass. I think there were a few other lines too. Sarge was like, for our ancestors, because he ends up saying that, I think in season 1 or season 2, he was like, for our ancestors. He's like, we just gotta go in there, we just gotta fight for our ancestors, I guess. Whatever.
Everyone, now's our chance!
For our ancestors! Let's end!
Today is a good day to die.
Wait, I think today is actually a good day to retreat. Can't we push dying to a week from Friday?
Yeah, let's all take dying as an open action item and come back with suggestions next meeting.
No, it has to be today. For our ancestors. Yeah!
Griff getting kicked in the balls, like, that's a season 8 reference, but even then, like, they were like, okay, we gotta pull every reference out of the book. We gotta remind people of the good times and just bring it all to a head. It's like, we're gonna give them all of this nostalgia, we're gonna give them all of these feel-good serotonin moments, because we're about to break every motherfucker's heart when Carolina and the Alpha go into that room and face the director. And I think that's why they did that. They were like, we got to give them some feel-good moments because we're about to fucking rip their heart out. We're about to give them this crazy-ass reveal that no one's ready for. At least I wasn't ready for it. And the second the music starts playing, and the second you see the director, and the second you see the you know, Allison on the screen, like, emotions just overwhelm you. Because it's like, this is what everyone has been fighting for. This is what everyone has died for. This is what the AI went through. This is what I've gone through for the last fucking 4 or 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years watching this show. You know what I mean? And seeing good characters die, seeing people struggle, and seeing people torture themselves, and seeing so many things not come to fruition because of someone who is broken. And it's sad, it's tragic. You want to hate the director, but but you have to consider the humanity there. You have to consider what it's like to be human, what it means to lose, and what it means to get lost in that. You know? And then when you realize the family dynamic of that, when you realize it's a mother, a daughter, a father, and a memory. There's one scene that happens before that reunion that I want to talk about, and it's something that I previously mentioned that I guess now I can get into it, and that is the 100 Texas. Now, I don't remember which video it is. Good luck for anyone out there who decides to go and find it, or who knows, because I don't. It's been too long. I mentioned, I was like, okay, so the Alpha is the base by which he is then spliced off, and all of these, you know, all of these AI matrices are formed, right? Delta, Theta, Eta, Iota, you know, Gamma, Sigma, Omega, etc. And so I said to myself, I was like, wait a minute, if the Alpha's doing that, and the Beta is a copy of the Alpha, can can you splice the beta as well? Can you make like a new strand of AI off of the beta? Is that what the director did? Is that what the 100 text represents, right? It's not simply I'm recreating more betas because you would need an alpha for every beta. So what he did was he took the beta and he spliced it and he tried again, and that didn't work. So he spliced it and he tried again, and then he tried again, and he tried again, and he tried hundreds of times, hundreds of failures. It's never gonna get right. He's never gonna get it right. He always tried to get it right, and that's what Epsilon even said to her, I think, right before he let her go at the end of season 9. He was like, you know, he always wanted to see you again, you know, to get you right. And like even then he realized, he was like, the director was even trying Lord knows how many times after the actual beta ran off and did her own thing. I don't even know, like, what did they use for the base to recreate those failures? You know what I mean? Was the Texas that did everything, was she ever the original beta? Was she just a copy of a that's some genlock type shit now, because it's like, is she the copy of a copy of a copy of a copy? Do we even ever see the original? So yeah, I just think I'm surprised that if that is the case, that I was that like gigabrain to think and consider that back then, because I was like, because I really liked the AI, and I was really upset to know that like after like the whole thing that happened with Project Freelancer, they were like, all right, no one gets any more AI, even though we have another like 50 freelancers out there that are just like shit out of luck. They're not getting one, you know. Hi, how you doing there, South Dakota? But I was like, well, even if the alpha is destroyed, can they just create new ones off of the beta? And then we get this reunion sequence here with the alpha and the beta, and it's an exact parallel of Texas reaching out to Epsilon, or reaching out to the alpha, or what's left of the alpha, in the previous batch, before the last one. So it was the one where the Mother of Invention crashes into Sidewinder, or into like the ice area or whatever, and it's exactly parallel. It's the beta forgetting who she is, having to be reminded that her name is Texas, that Church and her used to know each other, that she needs to rest now, and having the pain of needing to say goodbye and knowing why she doesn't like goodbyes, and having to do that in order to like set everything right. You know, I don't really understand what the symbolism for that was, unless it was just simply like all of these failures are just like enraged versions of the core Allison that needs to be stopped, you know, because at this point there's no way to bring her back. So they definitively ended any possibility for her to come back as like a project experiment like that. So you have Allison, you have the beta, you have Epsilon beta, and now you have this beta that are all officially gone. So yeah, like Texas has gone through some shit. It's kind of fucked up when you think about it, how crazy, how much this woman has gone through, so many different iterations of herself on top of that. And that in turn reminds me of the season 7 trailer, where you would have where you had, you know, Church. He was like white, he was like a ghost, and he's like, this is what I died for. And then you see Texas with him, and it's a metaphor, you know what I mean? It's like, don't take this literally, this isn't actually them, but they are going to then transcend themselves. They transcend from the Church and the Epsilon, the Church and the Texas that were lost during season 6, and that they become Epsilon, and then becomes Epsilon Tex, and this iteration as well. And I don't know, it's really crazy that this is just all so beautifully written. It's so methodically written as well. I can't even begin to understand how Bernie thought he was going to get from point, how the thought, like, because I'm not a writer, I don't even know the first steps of creating a story, a setting, a plot, an interesting one at that, characters that are interesting, likable, relatable. I don't fucking know. There's so many different variations that makes me respect storytelling more and more. And I don't know, like Red versus, like, this season, it's like culmination of 10 seasons, man. And everything comes to a head in the next episode. Don't say it. 4 elements. make up this episode. A deceased mother, a broken father, a hardened daughter, and a painful memory. That, in essence, is what Red versus Blue really is about. It's not about the Reds, and that's another thing, too. That's what I love so much about, like, very meticulous storytelling. When the story isn't even about the characters who are always on screen. And I think that's what they're trying to do with Ruby, or maybe that is Ruby's premise, right? You have Team Ruby, Ruby Rose, Weiss SCHNEE, Blake Belladonna, Yang Xiaolong. The show's not about them. The show's about Ozpin and Salem. Albeit it's far more in your face and it's far more blunt than Red versus Blue, in my humble opinion. Yeah, Red versus Blue is about the director and Allison Church. It's about Leonard and Allison Church. It is not about Red Team. It's not about Blue Team. It's not about, it's about them two. I don't know what happens after this, right? Because if there's any semblance of them left over for the Chorus Trilogy, that would be pretty interesting to kind of close off that chapter altogether. Because clearly there are remnants. There's Malcolm Hargrove. There's Charon Industries that the Project Freelancer was stealing from all this time. You have the freelancers that are still out and about. You have their military tech that's still out and about. You know, Epsilon is still around. Washington's still around. Carolina's still around. So there are definitely remnants of Project Freelancer out there in the world, but I don't think they're going to be as relevant as, like, the actual director, you know, or Texas being alive or anything like that. So I don't know, man. I really just admire stories that challenge you to go back, especially, and re-see things in a different light. Like, you could watch this show in its entirety and then rewatch it, and because of everything that you know, you're watching the show with a different lens, and therefore a different experience is brought for you. And yeah, the show, after watching it up to this point, even with season 1, it was O'Malley. That's Omega. Omega is a byproduct of the Alpha, which is from the director, which is from Project Freelancer. Lo and behold, you know, it's always been about the director. I don't think Bernie knew that at the time, right? I don't know at what point he was like, okay, this is going to be about a man, a scientist, and his deceased wife, and a great war, and Reds and Blues, and these super badass freelancer soldiers, and I'm gonna try to tell a very compelling story that culminates at season 10. I don't know where, when, or how they were even able to make that, because episode 1 definitely didn't have that in mind. Definitely didn't have that in mind with the first few episodes, especially because it kind of took off out of nowhere from what I was told, or from what I've heard over the time. But yeah, that last episode is incredible. Incredible. I don't really know what more I could say about it. It is so powerful. It is unlike anything I had ever experienced in my life. I don't think I'd ever cried that hard in my life. Like, in my life, in terms of media. Like I said, since then, I bawled I was so freaking weak after I finished Persona 5 Royal. Like, that's probably the closest as well that I've cried. And to that, losing Pyrrha and the entirety of Volume 3, the Volume 3 finale of Ruby is another heavily emotional one for me as well. But when you see the director sitting in that chair and he's playing the playback over and over and over and over. Play it again, Phyllis. It's been several days. Play it again, Phyllis. You know, that actually reminds me of Jean. That actually reminds me of Jean from Ruby Volume 2. I'm sorry, Volume 4, Chapter 2, where he's training in the forest, and Pyrrha died, and he's training off of her recording that she gave to him, and it just keeps replaying over and over, and that's how he trains at night. And he's kind of torturing himself in that way, and that's exactly what the director was doing. Oh my god. I just realized that now. But yeah, the director's like torturing himself by doing that. And when you see him standing there, sitting there, going through that, hello, Agent Carolina, would you like to watch this file with me? And she knows what's going on too. She's like, my dad, he's consumed by this. That's my mom and that's my dad sitting there constantly trying over and over and over again. So many people have died because of this. I've been neglected because of this. I don't know a father's love because of this. And then you start thinking of those people. You start thinking of the people that lost. You start thinking of North, of York. You know? You start thinking of Theta and Delta. You start thinking of all the good people that were lost because of the CT. And then you see the eyes, and the eyes say everything. Everything that I was unaware of, everything that... And even Epsilon says it too. And he goes through every emotion he has to convey to the director how he feels, that he has to be the one to remind him what he's done. Everything. And he's out for blood. And it's crazy that he's out for blood because he knows what it's like to let go. But at the same time, he's kind of conflicted with himself because that's him. But he knows he's better than that. At least now he knows he's better than that, right? He was brilliant. And we trusted him, but he lied to us. He twisted and tortured us, used us, manipulated us for his own purposes. And for what? For this shadow, right? Delta's logic, Theta's trust, Gamma's deceit, Omega's rage, Sigma's creative ambition, and Allison Tech's Beta as the shadow. And it's crazy too, when you think about it. Because the one person that was so offended that someone would call Texas a shadow is now alongside saying it with Washington, CT, and now Epsilon.
He was brilliant, and we trusted him. But he lied to us. He twisted and tortured us and used us.
Manipulated us for his own purposes. And for what?
For what?
For this?
For this?
This shadow?
Shadow?
He needs to pay. He's here because of us. Because of me? Not you, us, me, and Alpha, and the director. You've started to remember. I found some journals from the director. She's someone from his life. Someone he loved. Allison. Her name was Allison. Allison. When they made Alpha, she came back. She was a byproduct of the process. She's just a shadow. Don't call her that. She died in her real life, and that's all the director ever remembered of her. So now, no matter how tough she is, no matter how hard she fights, she's always going to fail, because that's what she's based on.
You don't know what the director's done. He's broken major laws. When this war ends, we're all gonna have to pay for his crimes. Maybe some of us are already paying for them.
You need to stop talking, CT.
No. I know what you are, Tex. And I won't take orders from a shadow.
What did you just call me?
I don't know where or when this happened, but after a while, I stopped asking or stopped questioning why the director didn't show his face. And I didn't realize it was because of a story element. I didn't realize it was because of a reveal factor. And they actually gave us Carolina's eyes, very vibrant green eyes, in the one episode where... I believe it was right before they went after CT for her armor, and you get to see Carolina's eyes are green. And I don't know why I just never thought to bring that up. It was just like an oversight. It's like, well, we see the director, we never see his eyes, we haven't seen it since season 9, so I think I just got used to it. I think I kind of like, it was like a misdirection in a way, where it's like, okay, we constantly see him in this way, so I'm just never going to question it. And then it just kind of debates you at the end of like, hey, the eyes mattered more than anything, and here's why. And the eyes answer everything. They fill in the gaps of so much. They fill in the gaps of the relationship between the director and Texas. It answers the relationship of the director and Carolina. And it most importantly answers the relationship between Carolina in Texas. And that was something that I mentioned too, and I actually have a few moments here that I remember. So the first one is their armor color, and kind of like how you get debated of Carolina's first introduction because her armor is initially black.
Swish! Swish! Oh, Dad! God damn it! Stop! Oh, come on! Oh, bullshit! Bitch! Damn it, I hate this black stuff! What the hell is it?
There she is. Huh?
Get her!
Wait, guys.
Ow! Fuck! I'm Tex, I'm a blue! But not the blue you're fighting! Leave me the fuck alone!
It's hard.
Why are you hitting me? I'm not Tex!
Sarge, hold on. I think that's Tucker, not Tex.
See, I told you! Oh! Hey, you fucker!
Attention, assholes! Stand down, you're surrounded! Give us the data file now! You will be taken into custody! We can either do this the easy way or the hard way. There is no escape, so give us the damn data file! Get down! Son of a bitch.
What's going on?
It's her.
What? What's she doing here? Okay, my turn.
Another parallel between the two of them is their armor ability. So Carolina has reactive camouflage, which changes her armor color based on she's almost like a chameleon. So it's based on like her environment. And Texas has invisibility, which is essentially another form of camouflage. So even their abilities are very reminiscent and parallel to each other as mother and daughter.
You! What are you doing here? Is that a bomb? I knew it. It was you who blew up the oil platform.
That thing blew up?
Somebody's been covering our tracks. You were on the roster too, but they hid your name. Why did they send you?
Hey, hate to bust up the reunion here, but we got a problem. There were 4 of them here! What the fuck is going on? What did I say? I said one thing. Keep them in front of me.
Another parallel, which I feel like goes without saying, they're both badass females, like mother, like daughter. They can whoop ass and they can take names, and they've done it more than enough times to where it's very clear that I even wanted to see a grudge match between these two. I didn't realize they were mother and daughter, but looking at the situation at the time, I was definitely for like seeing Tex and Carolina like go toe to toe, both of them having AIs in a 1v1, and see who came out on top, because they both were absolute animals. And then lastly, with the parallels with my notes here, I have a few like visual cues, not visual cues, verbal cues. So these are just things that were said like one-offly or said in a way that reflects a different situation with either Carolina and the director or Carolina and Texas, but it's just very much like, holy shit, like she's mimicking her parents. Clearly they're her parents. Why the fuck didn't I realize these were her parents?
Why not Tex? She's a ghost like me. Use her. But she's not you. Even if I could find her, even if she's still alive, I don't think I could trust her. Tex is confusing. The director and counselor always worked so closely with her. She was like their favorite.
You sound jealous. What's the matter? Daddy didn't love you enough?
We were a competitive group. We had to be. But she always had special treatment from our superiors. There has to be a reason for that. She's... I don't know what she is.
CT will be an acceptable loss, but her armor must not fall into the wrong hands.
I understand. Will we be the only forces sent out on this mission, sir?
Leave personnel decisions to me, Agent. Just do your job. It's time to cut the head off the enemy once and for all.
Yes, sir.
We have to fight all the bad guys by ourselves.
Fuck that. Yeah, Carolina, maybe I should stick with the others.
Leave personnel decisions to me, Agent Washington.
Round begins in 3, 2, 1. Begin. Good luck, ladies.
Thanks. I won't need it.
No, it's Agent Texas and her damn partner in crime.
We should get back to the lab. Director, we must follow protocol.
Carolina, look at me. You know what needs to be done.
I do.
Then do it.
And don't worry, you'll see me again.
Play it again, Phyllis.
Sir, you really should stop to eat. It has been several days.
Again.
Hello, Director.
Hello, Agent Carolina. Would you like to watch this file with me?
No.
Play it again, Phyllis.
Director?
Again.
So, This is what you've become.
Always been like this.
Well, yeah. I mean, she never did know when to stop. But now it's like she doesn't know how to stop.
Round complete. A 6.3% increase in efficiency that round, Agent
Run it again,
Carolina.
Phyllis.
Resetting training room floor for next round. Round complete.
Run it again.
That last round showed a 3.6%
Just run it again.
Resetting training room floor. Round complete.
Run it again.
Resetting training room floor for next round.
I think we all could use some rest.
What about your teams? What will happen to them?
There's still one place we haven't visited. Somewhere we can make a home.
Show me.
We'll need a good cover story to explain his disappearance. People will wonder what happened to Florida.
Leave that all to me, sir.
Very well. But security is not enough. The Alpha needs anonymity. A place where no one would think to look for him.
I believe I know exactly the place.
Show me.
So after all of that, after the reveal, after the anger from Epsilon, after, you know, just kind of feeling all of the emotions of everything, Carolina basically finally matures. She finally reaches the precipice of her decision making and realizing I can either be a bloodthirsty Avenger who's been going down this life of anguish, this life of suffering, this life of pain, this life of disdain. First for Texas, the entire time it was for Texas, and then after that, it transitions over to the director. And, you know, York was trying to tell her from the get-go. Washington was trying to tell her. Even Epsilon was trying to get through to her a couple of times as well. You know, back when he showed her the memory logs of York, of just trying to just be like, we can be so much more. And I love how she was able to let go and was able to reinstill that into Epsilon, because Epsilon knew more than anyone the ability, or the number one crux, the number one crutch of his life has been Texas, and he had to let go of Texas in order to start anew. And so in the same way, Carolina just had to learn to forget. I don't know if she really forgave, but she had to let go of her past. And she said it better than anyone else. It's, you know, you're not defined by your past. You're defined by your starting point. You know, it's a starting point for who you're going to be. And so I really appreciated the fact that she not only followed suit with York's advice at long last, but Epsilon's actions, because both of those things were consuming them. And at the very least now, she, similar to Washington, seems to have another shot at life that she's actively pursuing in the form of redemption, in the form of cleaning up, in the form of being better. And, you know, that's the best thing that I could have wanted for her, because I really didn't like Carolina when I first got introduced to her. Surprisingly so, because I loved Pyrrha the moment I got introduced to her. So parallel opposites there as well. She kind of gave me like the I kind of had like the Weiss effect on Carolina, where I despised her when I first met her because she's so cocky and arrogant, and now I absolutely love her because I understand and like I'm ready to like see actual Carolina. Well, actually no, Carolina's her agent name. I don't know what her actual name is actually. God damn it. I really hope they reveal that. I'm pretty sure they reveal it in like the RVB book, and I'm gonna read that, I believe, after season 13. But yeah, I don't know Carolina's first name. I was about to say Carolina Church, but that's her freelancer state name. It'd be really funny though if her name was also Carolina. But yeah, so you know, the director basically makes amends at that point, asks for her pistol, dubs his daughter. Realized it at the last fucking minute. You had her in your life the entire time, and it's only now that you realize that the truest creation, the greatest creation you ever made was your daughter. And you couldn't see that because he was blinded by pain, by memories. He was blinded by love. He was blinded by his family. And I can't fault him for being human. it's unfortunate that things happened the way they did. At the very least, him taking his own life is clearly his way of atoning for all of the things that he did, the things that he put people through, the rules that he overwrote, or the rules that he overrode basically the rules that he broke and the laws that he broke, and the things that he did, I think more so for his own agenda than the war. You know, clearly he was trying to have his cake and eat it too. But yeah, the director commits suicide, Phyllis is shut down, and Project Freelancer, for the most part, I assume, is deleted from all data. So I don't think Project Freelancer is going to be coming back in any way, shape, or form in a grand capacity. There was a moment in Season 9 that I said to myself, I was like, why did Sigma... I don't want you guys to answer this, by the way. I'm just saying it in case more Project Freelancer stuff comes up. But I was wondering why Sigma was so interested in watching the process of an AI be created. Right? I was just curious about that because he was always going on about like metastability and wanting to achieve that. And I assume maybe he needed to understand how an AI comes to be, because, you know, metastability is when an AI can become fully human. So it's a transition, it's a process. So maybe he needed to see like the embryonic state of that process to where then it could develop and manifest on its own. But Sigma's already taken out. He was taken out in Season 6. So I just don't understand. I just never understood that. And I was just wondering, like, if there are like remnants of Project Freelancer out there, if it would be redone, if someone else out there would create their own AI in their image and then splice that and create their own subset of AI that they would use for nefarious reasons, right? Like the director was using it for the war and for, you know, Allison and stuff like that. But what if someone did what he did, but did it in a nefarious way? You know what I mean? So that's another thing, too, to take into consideration. Obviously, the UNSC has learned from their mistakes, so chances are they're never going to be pulling this shit because they have an entire doctrine that they said that they're going to write after Leonard Church with how to deal with artificial intelligence. So clearly what he did, he set a precedent for other people. So I don't think that will really come to fruition at this point. But I don't know. That's just something that I hope is answered in the Chorus Trilogy, because that's one of the things I was just like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is Sigma trying to do? Why is he like snooping and, you know, being so close and attentive on how, you know, Epsilon came into be, at the very least. But yeah, Phyllis is gone too. I don't know why she had to go. You know what I mean? Obviously she is evidence of Project Freelancer, so it's just sad, man. The only people that are alive is Epsilon, Washington, and Carolina. And maybe any other freelancers out there, but majority of the freelancers out there are irrelevant to Project Freelancer because they weren't at the top of them leaderboards. You know what I mean? Even CT got relegated after a certain point. But yeah, I don't know. It's just tragic, man. There's so many butterfly effect moments of things that could have changed if York, when he was alive, I don't know, man. There's just so much, like, because at one point in the present day, at the time, like, especially with the miniseries, Carolina, York, and Texas were all alive. Like, had she just come back into the picture then, things would have been so much better. Things could have actually worked out. And it's just, I don't know, man. Clearly the story was written in a way that you're not supposed to have happy endings. You're supposed to have those tragic endings, you know, that tug at the heart, that like fucking rip your heartstrings out and make you feel, because you care about the characters so much. And I cared about York, and I wanted better for him than what happened. But and I loved York before I even knew, you know, York and Delta. I really liked them both before I even knew anything more about Project Freelancer and about the crush he had on Carolina and all that other stuff. I don't know. But don't say goodbye. I hate goodbyes. Oh, man. But there's a new chapter. There's a new chapter for everybody. And obviously it's it's the Chorus Trilogy that's starting up next. There is one question that I had here. And it's where Carolina and Church are talking, and Church is like, oh, I still, you know, she's like, oh, what about your friends? He's like, oh, there's one. So, and I'm genuinely curious about this. I don't want you guys to answer. Just hear my thought process here, because this is what I'm thinking of going into the Chorus Trilogy. So there is a sequence between Carolina and Church where they're talking about what's next for the team.
What about your teams? What will happen to them?
There's still one place we haven't visited. Somewhere we can make a home.
Show me.
So that scene there indicates that it was Epsilon who came up with the idea, Church, who came up with the idea for the Reds and Blues to end up at the bases that they're at now. Epsilon is memory. So how did Epsilon know about that location unless it's coming from the memories of when he was the director? I'm wondering if this base of operations holds any significance to the director, or if it's just a random base of operations that he was like, hey, I'm just strolling through. Oh, this place would be cool to have as a base for a bunch of people to live someday. And then like he just remembers it now. Or is he remembering because memory is the key? You know what I mean? He was like, there's one place we haven't looked yet. One place we can call, you know, we can still call home. Or one place that we can make our home. And I'm just wondering, like, how would Epsilon know of a place like that existing? His memories are that of the director's memories and that of the, you know, the AI fragments memories, you know, the Alpha's memories. And I'm just wondering if this place holds any significance to that, to the director, because it came from Epsilon. It didn't, like, Carolina wasn't the one that suggested it. He's the one that suggested it. But I'm just wondering, how would this AI know about that unless it's based on the memories of who he's based on? But that's just all I was thinking, because, like, I do find it interesting that, because it's not Blood Gulch, it's not Valhalla, it's a brand new area, clearly a new map from Halo 4, but obviously, considering the events of the plot, I'm just wondering how this is going to tie in, or if it'll tie in to anything regarding the UNSC, Charon Industries, Malcolm Hargrove, etc., etc. And then I love, so this is another thing that I really loved about this season. I loved how it blended the past and the present so much better. Like they literally knew where they fucked up with Season 9. Or maybe at the very least, they knew that Season 9 was going to be poorly received because of the capture unit stuff. And then they said to themselves, well, we're just going to take the flack with Season 9 because we know we're going to be able to bring the heat with Season 10. They relocate back to what happened after Project Freelancer fucked up, after Texas got away, after the meta got away, and relocating the Alpha to Blood Gulch. And fucking Butch Flowers is a freelancer, dude. He's freaking Agent Florida. So, took them 9 seasons to fucking make that joke come back around full circle with the poor Florida. It's like, oh, there's 50 freelancers, 50 states. You mean 49. Yeah, you're right. Poor Florida. Poor Florida. It's like, really? They waited like 8-9 seasons to come back full circle around with that joke, explaining what happened to Florida. And I honestly, not gonna lie, I'm kind of pissed off that fucking Cappy, Butch Flowers, Cappy, got freaking this badass blue freelancer who did all that crazy shit with the smiley guys, and he was just such a badass with like his grenade launcher gun and all that stuff, and he dies from an aspirin. Like, at that point, you just need an excuse to kill off these freelancers so there's no loose ends with this storyline. You know what I mean? Like, you had to kill all the freelancers, you had to delete all the data, you had to kill the leader of you had to kill the leader of the project, the director, you had to get rid of all of the AI. Like, you literally had to wipe away any evidence, living, technology or otherwise, from the annals of history, to kind of put this entire Project Freelancer storyline to bed at this point. And it's just like, it just sucks, man. Because it's like, no, they couldn't. I mean, they have Washington and Carolina, and I don't want to undersell them because, like, clearly they survived. But I would have just loved for one of these other characters who got the fucking shit end of the stick to, at the very least, be able to have the same level of closure, the same level of redemption as Carolina and Washington. Or at least one of the other AI as well, you know, because there's only Epsilon. It's like, does he miss his AI brethren? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's very touchy for me, as you can probably tell. But yeah, so now they have a new base. I don't know if it's a UNSC base, because like one of the towers or one of the parts of the tower said like UNSC on it. And aren't they like wanted criminals of the UNSC? So why would Epsilon recommend a base like that? I know it's UNSC because like the map structure. I'm just wondering if the setting itself is relevant at all to the plot of like the UNSC, you know, Malcolm Hargrove, all that other stuff. But they're at a new base. The Blues got a new fucking tank. I really hope it doesn't have another AI in it, because I don't know if I can deal with another Sheila situation. But they have a new home, they have a new tank, and a new journey for Epsilon and Carolina, and she's basically talking about, you know, redemption, and that's something that, like I said, I wanted for her, I wanted for Washington, I wanted for, you know, both of them to have a second shot at life, clearly, and on top of that, Epsilon's going to be able to have a second shot at life, too. Is Epsilon technically her dad still? Like, it's like her optimized dad. It's like the dad she wished she had. I don't know. Like, he mentions to the actual director, it's like, I don't know what I am, but I know that I'm better. But I know that, like, I don't know. She's like, I don't know what I am, but I do know this. I'm more than just a copy of you. I'm better than you. So does that mean, like, he's a better dad to Caroline? Because, like, they're going on this journey together. So it's like a father-daughter moment, even though they don't, they seem more like, they kind of treat each other more like siblings than father and daughter. But yeah, I just thought that was really cool too, because it's kind of like, you know, we can make up for lost time, or we can kind of embrace each other moving forward because they've helped each other grow so much. But yeah, they're going on this Project Freelancer cleanup session. She basically mentions that there are some low-level thugs who have some Project Freelancer tech that they need to kind of get back and try to right the wrongs that they helped create with being war tools and, you know, war criminals and assets to the director and the project, and all the fucked up shit that they did, and all the people that they killed, and all the stuff that they stole, and all the companies that they fucking took underground and destroyed from the inside out, especially that Charon industry base that got blown up. But yeah, you know, and she's basically talking about, like, there's no way that they'll be able to ever be good again, but better is good enough. And I love that. I love that line, to be like, everyone does shit that they're not proud of, and it's just like, as you get older, you lose more and more of your innocence. But as long as you're able to just put your best foot forward, be the best version of yourself that you can be, you know, what more can you ask for of a person? Obviously, there are things that I feel like are unforgivable, and things that you'll never be able to right certain wrongs. And you have to live with those things for the rest of your life. But, like, with Carolina, the worst she had ever done, I think, was push people away. And it's very understandable why. I'm curious if Washington or anybody else ever knew of her situation of being the director's daughter, because it seems like everyone was incredibly tough and hard on Carolina. But if they realized the situation of, like, well, she's the daughter of this guy, and this guy is not giving her any special treatment, and she's competing with this other girl who's getting all of the attention and all of the accolades and all of the praise, and she's getting the AIs. Unbeknownst to any of them, that was the mother, and clearly he had to keep that shit under wraps. I think there's a lot of things that Washington, and, like, they're good people. They're fucking great people. Even York is a good person. You know what I mean? They just got wrapped up and tied up into this thing that was bigger than any of them, and it was something that none of them really knew what they were getting themselves into, especially with you know, CT revealing that to them. Like, he's basically, like, torturing AI, and he's turning them into, like, tools of war, and we're gonna have to answer for his crimes when he gets caught. Better is good enough. I really like that. And again, I can't get out of my head the idea, or the possible idea, that that Church / Epsilon is like a better, optimized, cooler version of her dad. Younger version of her dad, or whatever, and they're going on this journey together, even though it's kind of more of like a mutual respect thing between the two of them. But it's AI and Freelancer, which is super cool, which means she gets to still use her armor ability. So hopefully we get to see that reactive camouflage come back into play, now that I think about it, because that's kind of like the same thing that the meta did when he had the memory unit, when he had the capture unit back in season 8. He used it, and he got to use his armor abilities again. So, and she used, like, super speed in that one in the fight with all the Texas. I don't know how she got that, or if that was even an armor ability, but at that point she had Epsilon embedded into her into her armor, so that's really cool. And yeah, the everything else kind of comes to a head with Chorus Trilogy. She talks about her mom, she talks about Allison, and she talks about, you know, never say goodbye. If you don't say goodbye, you're never really gone. It just means you're not there yet. And someone in the comments really wanted me to feel that one to the nth degree because they referenced Monty. They were like, you know, I don't want to destroy you, but, you know, you can apply that to a lot of, and that's the first thing I thought of when she said that. I thought of Monty when Carolina said, during my reaction. That's why I, like, fucking lost it when she said that, because I was like, I was thinking the same thing, you know? It's like we lost him, and it's just like, it was just like, 1 minute he's here and the next he's not, and it's like, you know, we never got to say goodbye. And it's like, if you never say goodbye, you're not really gone, you know? And so I like that too. That's a very optimistic way of looking at things, you know, both if someone's busy or if someone's officially, you know, if someone's gone forever. But damn, dude, I fucking love this show. I love this show, man. I absolutely love it. I don't know what the fuck Chorus Trilogy is going to do to me. I don't know what it's going to deliver. That final shot with the sniper rifle is so powerful because Church would not give up that motherfucking weapon the entire series. He'd rather leave it up there by itself than give it to Tucker, of all people. Tucker's been asking for the sniper since fucking episode 1. And, but yeah, he left the sniper behind, symbolic, of course, to Bernie leaving behind Red versus Blue to be handled by Miles. And I tweeted that picture of the sniper as well when Bernie announced that he was leaving Rooster Teeth, leaving the country, actually. You know, he's such an influential person in my life. He's like the dad of the company. I've always looked up to him as like that kind of like role model figure. And I'm just blessed to say that I know Bernie, you know what I mean? That I can say that he's really funny and quick-witted and intelligent, and he's a great story writer, and he was so entertaining to have on the podcast, and he was always so insightful, especially during his vlogs, and I really loved those as well. And thank you for making this show, and thank you for building this company because of this show, and, you know, giving my life purpose and having me be able to make friends that I know and that I'm going to have for the rest of my life. And I don't know, it's so crazy how life is sometimes. I know I'm getting like super existential with it right now, but it's just like it's so crazy how one show, like something that could feel so insignificant, could have such a massive ripple effect on people and on lives. And I absolutely loved it. I loved, cherished with all of my heart and soul the first 10 seasons of RVB. And I'm not afraid. I just don't want to ever have to compare it to something else that Rooster Teeth does, because I don't like comparing things. I don't like clearly there's a time and place to compare things in a positive way, or I don't like comparing things in a malicious way or in a way that comes off like I'm condescending or demoralizing a previous work or something different, right? I want to believe that I will enjoy Red versus Blue moving forward, regardless of what other people have to say, or try to, at the very least, take something positive away from it. I never want to be like, man, season 10 was way better than this shit. Like, I don't want to fucking feel like that, because, like RVB is RVB. It shouldn't have to feel any different because it's something that's different or new or not the same old, you know what I mean? And so that's just how I'm feeling right now going into it. I am excited for some new content. I'm excited to see how Miles makes his mark on Rooster Teeth and Red versus Blue especially. I know a lot of people have left a lot of high praise of the trilogy as well. So, you know, at the very least with that, I'm excited to see, because obviously Miles also works on Ruby, so clearly he's been doing this for a while. I don't know. I'm just very... Season 10 left me on a high, dude. Season 10 is just like... up there for me. And I don't want to be desensitized from anything that I feel isn't season 10 is all I'm trying to get at. But yeah, there's so many things and expectations that I'm hoping for and looking forward to with the Chorus Trilogy. Like I said, any Project Freelancer remnants, new freelancers, that would be really fucking cool. Like, they don't have to have AI or any of that kind of cool shit. If they had like cool abilities or whatever, that'd be badass. New characters also, but I think did I say AI? I'm sorry, I meant new freelancers. I think new freelancers would be cool because there's like 40 others out there. And it'd be really upsetting if the only freelancers we ever see or hear of from here on out is the ones that died. Also, shout out to Georgia and Utah that were featured at the end credits. And then Washington and Carolina. Where's Massachusetts? Where's Oklahoma? Where's Kentucky? Huh? Where are those freelancers? Those are clearly the ones that Rooster Teeth's saving in their pocket for a rainy day, because those are the ones that are going to revolutionize Rooster Teeth and Red vs. Blue as we know it in 2020. But I'm wondering also, because Carolina and Epsilon went their separate ways, but then the Reds and Blues are at this base. So are they going to pull like a back and forth in that regard? Because like I understand like going from the past to the present. Clearly that's understandable for switching back and forth between sequences. But are they going to switch back and forth between perspectives of, okay, meanwhile, this is what Carolina and Church have been doing. Meanwhile, this is what's happening at Red and Blue base. You know what I mean? Because there's clearly two different perspectives that are equally important and valuable and worthy of screen time. So I'm wondering what how the point of view is going to be had between these 2 points. And then on top of that, there clearly has to be an adversary. I'm expecting Karin Industries. I'm expecting the UNSC. I'm expecting, you know, the chairman of the oversight subcommittee, Malcolm Hargrove, to make an appearance, because he's had a lot of shit to say to the director. And now the director's dead, so he's probably like freaking doing his freaking victory dance in his office or some dumb shit. And I'm just like so pissed off, because it's like, I don't know, man, because I made the theory too. I honestly think he's working for Karin Industries. And if he is, he's a fucking hypocrite, because he's saying all this crazy dumb shit to the director, you know, talking down, oh, we're going to arrest you, you know. He's just basically saying all this shit to get on the director's case when he's doing shit that's just as fucked up. You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know, man. I made that theory a while ago, and I just really feel like, because there was that one scene that the director had a memo that he was reading, not the director, the chairman had a memo. He was reading a memo during a scene with the insurrectionists. And in my head, I was thinking, why are they reading this out during a scene where we're looking at what we are assuming to be the bad guys, right? The insurrectionist, Pillman, the girl, Sharkface, and all those other guys. Like, I was like, that would be a really cool set piece in terms of plot. Like, they are inadvertently revealing to us that Malcolm Hargrove is siding with these guys while also being a member of the chairman subcommittee. So I'm just wondering how those things are gonna happen. Where the fuck is the counselor? The director's dead. Did the counselor jump ship? Did he switch sides? Like, is he gone? Is he dead? Are they gonna talk about him again? Is he gonna be brought up? He was just as important as the director, I feel. He's the one that was like his right hand, literally his right hand man, and now he's gone. So that's another thing, the counselor. I'm wondering, like, what's he up to? Is he gonna be relevant? Are we gonna see him again? Are we gonna hear from him again? There's so much stuff. There's so much that I want to know. There's so much I want to get into. And then we had, really briefly, I'll just go through these. We had the end credit stuff. So shout out again to Georgia. Thank you so much for including those end credit bits in the reaction batch for the last reaction for season 10. So we found out what happened to Georgia. Their thruster packs actually did pop off, and they went flying into space. We got a feature of Utah, which was another freelancer that Washington and North mentioned back in season 9. North and South Dakota setup, obviously, you know, I always got your back, sis, and I'm watching yours. Clear setup for, you know, eventually what happened with her setting her brother up for the meta. Carolina meeting York and Herrera. That was really surprising. First off, she's way younger. She has like a younger model. So this is probably like when she's like a young, like in her like early 20s, most likely. And the first time she met York, and York fell in love with her at Herrera. And, you know, that's where he got the Herrera lighter from. And also the story that he told Delta in the memory, in that memory log. And then Allison's departure, which is clearly a big part of this whole series, because that's the memory that the director lingers on. You know what I mean? That's what stirred all of this in motion. If Allison never died, I know that we're getting, again, pretty existential here, but if Allison never died, we would not have this series. So yeah, clearly she had to die for all of this to happen, and you know, it's very bittersweet overall. And then the Ruby Red trailer, the trailer, the show that is why I'm here, what got me into the Rooster Teeth community, what got me into, you know, what eventually led me to get back and check out and start Red vs. Blue. And yeah, another thing that I do want to say about season 9 and 10 is that it gave me everything that I wanted, honestly. I remember when I was talking in my season 8 review going into season 9, I was like, I really hope they cover the freelancers and the AI and, you know, their interactions and, you know, the, you know, freelancer interactions, AI to AI interactions, AI and freelancer interactions, AI interacting with other freelancers that aren't their hosts. And between seasons 9 and 10, both of them gave me everything I was I think every expectation that I had was met in some capacity. You know, Monty's like a step up in animation, a step up in graphical fidelity. You know, all of the story beats, not story beats necessarily, but character beats, right? Character interactions, character moments. We learned a lot more about AI. We learned a lot more about the freelancers. We got to see a lot more interactions between them, especially because in retrospect, they were already dead in the present. So to get a prequel story, so to speak, from them was very satisfying to learn a bit more about York, since we only saw him in the miniseries. To learn more about like Wyoming and North and South, and, you know, to hear the stories of them growing up as twins, and, you know, everything really satisfied me with these last two seasons. Season 10, I could talk about season 10 all fucking day. I can't recommend Red vs. Blue enough to people who have not seen it. I know there's so many Ruby fans out there who are like Ruby stans but refuse to see anything else that Rooster Teeth has made. Probably gave Genlock a chance here and there, but again, it's because it's the relevancy. Who's talking about Red vs. Blue in 2020 other than already established Red vs. Blue fans? Which, again, I fucking hope and pray that if you are not a Ruby fan, or if you are a Ruby fan and you have not seen Red vs. Blue, give Red vs. Blue 0 a chance. And I just pray and hope that if someone who is not an RVB fan watches RVB 0, which has already been said by Fiona Nova that you don't need to watch the other seasons to get into it, if they watch RVB 0 and they enjoy it and they like it, I just hope a fraction of those people go back and watch from the beginning and see and just get swept in like I did. Like, you're watching it, it's like, okay, jokes, comedy, sitcom. Oh, this is kind of cool. Cool action, freelancer, AI, science fiction. Holy shit, action sequences, fucking drama, death, tears, plot, like, and it just fucking takes off. And I'm just like, you're welcome. Thank me later. But yeah, that's everything. Those are my thoughts. That is my final wrap up for Red vs. Blue Season 10, the closing of the Project Freelancer storyline. I have nothing but great things to say about this show. I have nothing but fantastic things to expect and hope for the future of the show as well. Fingers fucking crossed that Rooster Teeth utilizes every aspect of Halo Infinite for future seasons of Red vs. Blue. Especially because I think they're using Halo 5 still for RVB. And I think RVB will be out before Halo Infinite. So after Halo Infinite comes out, it would be so fucking cool if, like, a future season of RVB or whatever allows them to utilize the new game That's, I think, is also going to be on PC and console, so there's more variety there for, you know, more machinimation or more, you know, freaking moving the controller, bobbing. I don't know what the show looks like now. I don't know if it's all animation or if it's still machinima, but yeah, like the new Halo game comes out this year, so by the time Halo 0, RVB 0 comes out, it's, you know, they won't be able to utilize that technology until the next season if they continue it. But I fucking hope. Like, that's one of the first things I thought of when I watched the trailer. I was like, man, if they get RVB on this, they can do some really crazy shit with, I don't really know. It's like open world, or it's like partially open world game. It's not like level to levels. So I don't know how multiplayer would work with that. If you can have up to like 16 people in a world or something like that, or 16 people in an overworld, you can do some really creative shit with storytelling at the very least, which is super cool. But yeah, with all of that said, guys, those are my thoughts. Those are my takeaway impressions. Those are my feelings in a nutshell of the last 10 seasons of RVB. Ultimately, it really just comes down to season 10, the last 3 episodes, and what they really did for me as a ongoing watcher of the show. I really hope you guys have enjoyed my series so far. I'm definitely going to be catching back up and picking up where I left off with Chorus Trilogy, the first reaction batch. I don't know if it'll be out by the time this is out on Patreon, because I do want to try to get these up a little bit earlier, but at the very least, by the time this hits YouTube, it will be available on early access for Patreon. So if you guys are early access patrons and you're watching this on YouTube, the reaction is over on my Patreon, patreon.com/murderofbirds. So I hope you guys will check that out, leave your feedback. I hope you guys will enjoy that as well. And for everyone who's continued to have, you know, support, faith, confidence in me, and who has had and exercised the utmost amount of patience and who's been understanding for me, you know, of not being really up to date on these videos since 2020 has started, I do apologize. Better late than never, but I am back. It's official. Season 10 is behind us now. I'm moving forward with everything that I'm hoping and looking forward to with these, with the lovable characters, fucking Reds and Blues, Griff, Sarge, Simmons, Tucker, Caboose, Washington. I don't know about the tank yet. I don't know if the tank can talk. Lopez, maybe? Yo, can you please bring Lopez back? What's Lopez been doing this whole time, you know? Doc, Epsilon, or Church. I need to stop calling him Epsilon. Church, Carolina, new characters, a new engine, Halo 4, a new environment, you know, just more stuff. I'm just excited to just see what Miles delivers. And I'm really happy that I'm back. I'm really happy that you guys are continuing to be along for the journey. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's all over the place. I'm pretty sure it's like an hour and a half long, most likely, just like all the other ones are. But here's to the future. Here's to the Chorus Trilogy. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care. Hey, so you made it to the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed my overall take of Red vs. Blue Season 10, the end of the series overall, getting into the Chorus Trilogy. And as always, I want to give an extra special thank you to all of my patrons over on patreon.com/murderofbirds. Without you guys' support, I really wouldn't be able to do this. I've been doing YouTube for the last 4 years, and the continued support and growth on Patreon has been phenomenal. And as a big show of support, of course, for those of you in the Seasonal Maiden tier and above, an extra special thank you goes to AIMEE, Burgess, Blue Rat 137, Louis A. Sandoval, Luke, Marshall, Nigel, Ride the Lightning, Scott Porter, SUPERMONAMAN, The Disturbed Guy, Diesel75, Brandon CAPPELLI, Daniel Burns, ERZA Lee, GOTEKAI, Ian Dodd, Jamie Coleman, Matthew Trapp, Michael, and Winter SCHNEE. Thank you guys all once again so much for your continued support over the course of these videos. I really hope you enjoyed overall, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Take care.